order. Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10-4-6, according to the Open Public Meeting Act, this meeting on June 12, 2024, was sent to the R-Town and the Record and published on January 21st, 2024, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building and on the Rochelle Park's website and Facebook page, and has remained continuously posted as required notice under the statute and is being recorded and videotaped. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Peachy. Committeewoman Otola.
Here.
Committeewoman Judge Covello.
Here.
Committeeman Miller.
Here.
And Mayor Bassetti.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Will you rise for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next for a moment of silence. Any correspondence?
I have one. Important third quarter property tax information. There will be no third quarter estimated property tax bill. The third quarter property tax bill will be mailed out with the final 24 preliminary 2025 property tax bill. We are waiting for a final tax rate from Bergen County. As soon as we receive the rate, preparation and mailing of the property tax bill will proceed. If tax bills are mailed out after July 19th, we will extend the grace period. If tax bills are mailed before July 19th, property taxes will be due with the grace period by August 12th. By doing this, we're saving an estimated $6,000 in not mailing out estimated tax bills.
Since Mark's on the issue, we ask Council to put his name on our record.
Yes.
Mark DePisa is not here. We have a substitute for tonight. State your name.
Hello, everyone. My name is Richard Allen. Mark has asked me to cover at a family event that he could not get out of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ask for motion approval of the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Good. Second.
I'll second.
Good.
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Bassetti.
Yes. Open up for discussions. Boswell Engineer.
We have Mr. Tenkate with us tonight from Boswell.
Good evening, Mayor and Mayor Committee members. Pete Tenkate here to give our engineering report. I'll run down our projects. Rochelle Ave and Railroad Avenue intersection project. We have sent revised plans to the railroad and to Bergen County. The railroad has accepted the plan and details for jacking under the railroad. And the critical path at this point is the county's finalization of the relocation to the utility companies. We've reached out to Gene Murphy, the county, for an update and haven't heard back, but we are following up with him. Sanitary sewer pump station improvements. The treatment works applications was sent to the DPP last week in May, and we're working on the required drainage permits. There was an emergency sanitary sewer repair in the DPW building. We looked at, worked with the DPW on that, and determined that there was a point repair needed in lining and all installation, and received an emergency quote from Conquest. Actually sent out the 3 quotes, got a quote from Conquest Construction at $38,000, and Township approved that, and we're proceeding with the work. The work should be completed in 30 days of the signed contract. We're preparing permit to be issued for that. Howard Avenue drainage and resurfacing project is ongoing. As you know, we ran into conflict with existing utilities with the large pipes, and our latest redesign in the area of complex is complete, and we're coordinating with the contractor to remobilize for the work. And the final plans revised 100% that contractor this week. The digital tax maps are 95% complete in addressing the state review comments. We'll meet with the tax assessor and we will submit back to the state the first week of July. The 2023 Community Development Grant for Dorothea Virtue Pleasant Ave. Paving now been complete for the main punch list and striping. Preparing closeout documents for that project. 2023 Bergen County Open Space Project in Carlisle and Fields. The latest updated of plans is 90% complete. Waiting for public service for a meter relocation and finalizing our electrical plans, the lighting and the plans for the shelter. Once that is finalized, we will issue a set of plans for the county. Security DOT 2024 project, Harvey Avenue. We've submitted the plans to the DOT, and in fact, the bid date set for June 21, Friday, to receive bids for that project. The municipal stormwater system mapping required by the DEP, where we addressed the DEP comments on what was submitted to them, and they requested additional information, which we are updating for their request, and hopefully get that at the end of the month. The 2024-2025 community development project in Lincoln by Chestnut Avenue. We submitted the application and I believe we're waiting for confirmation.
I'm told September.
September,
They will let us know.
Stormwater control ordinance has been completed, our work on that. The 2024 Bergen County Open Space Grant in that field. We completed that. Stormwater pollution prevention plan. We're working with your five DOT local aid application. Was selected administration of the street, Chestnut and Sage. We're working with the application, which is due July 1st.
Can't hear, Bob? I'm sorry, the microphone is on.
I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't get your name. I couldn't hear your name. What's your name?
Peter
Sir?
10K.
Peter.
10K, Boswell Engineer.
Do you mind if I call you
Pete?
Pete? Peter? Great. Howard Avenue.
Yes.
Now, this initially started off, and now we had to stop because I understand it had to be remapped for piping that was underneath that wasn't aware of. Now it's been remapped, and I see as of June 7th. Is that what I'm understanding, that they were supposed to receive it by June 7th?
Yes.
When do they plan on starting it again that you know of?
I don't know how that answer, but I'll get it to you.
I would
I
appreciate
think they just
that.
got the revised plans, so they have to remobilize, and obviously we want to get
What do you mean by
started.
remobilized? What do you mean by
I believe they're off the job, and they have to come back.
that? So you have to get a date for them to return?
Yes.
So we want that, if possible, that could be sooner than later. Is that-
Absolutely,
This has
we
been
want-
ongoing.
yes.
There's gravel, there's everything else in that street. And in my opinion, this is what nobody expected there. Of course, I don't, didn't expect it, final piping that was there. But this has been dragging along for a while now. And, I get it. I get you have to do it right. Don't get me wrong, and again, this is all my opinion. But it's been long enough, and people are getting upset about it. And not another reason, then when is it going to happen? That's what they're pretty much asking. So if they have the remapping by the 7th, as you have here, you expect something, do you have an idea, estimate?
I don't, but I can tell you, we will inform the administrator in the next day or two when that date will be.
Great. And would you let us know that?
Absolutely, and, to your point, I received several complaints of the job site, which is a pretty much 3 blocks area. When I reached out to Mr. Miller of LaForza Construction, within 2 days, he sent a crew. They removed a lot of the gravel. They restacked a lot of the debris. They did clean up, and when I asked him, I said, when do you expect to work again? He says, well, now I have to order, the new materials. I don't know how long that's going to take, but we'll hold his feet to the fire, and I know Mr. Tenkate will get me an answer, and I'll get that to you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Because I think,
Because like you, I wanted this job done.
well, we were notified on Howard, I believe the residents, not we, but the residents were notified in February that the work
Correct.
was starting. And, now we're here going June into July. And like I said, I understand job sites, they can stop, whatever, something can come up. But this is ongoing and it needs to be completed, in my opinion. Also, you were talking about Railroad Avenue, that's almost complete. Is that at the almost completion date on that?
What we're waiting for, if I may, Mayor?
Yes, please.
Through the chair, is, it's on the county at this point. County engineering, the ball's in their court, it has been. We've done our easements that we needed to do. Mr. DePisa completed those. We've sent them to the county. Matter of fact, I had to resend the resolution to the county because they asked for it again. Our shared service agreement that this committee approved, so they have all that. It's a matter of Mr. Murphy and engineering telling us they're ready to proceed. So it's really back in the county's hands. There's nothing from the township impeding that.
So when was the last time someone from somewhere went to the county and said, what's going on?
I had a conversation with Mr. Murphy maybe 10 days ago.
Okay, so you're following up on it?
Yeah, and his answer is the utilities are difficult to play with. And there's a lot of utilities that they have to bore onto railroad tracks, so but we're ready to go. We're ready to go.
I understand, but
Yeah,
another
this project's been in
that's
the line for a long time.
ongoing, right? So we need to start, in my opinion, picking up here. And I understand sometimes your hands are tied, I get it. But somebody has to keep following up and following up and following up until they get this done. Thank you very much.
Pete, I know this is your first meeting here, I believe. I didn't see anything in your report regarding Madison Ave, but I was curious if Boswell, if you've been briefed on that and what the response is from Boswell regarding the flooding on Madison Avenue. If you don't have any information about it now.
I have plenty.
Okay.
Sure. I've been there, speaking with Boswell in reference to that, James McGinnis, our rep, as well as Anthony Payano, our field inspector and our rep, about that issue. They have completed the new storm drain pipe system, and it's a developer, so it's a different, it doesn't make our town, because it's not a town job, but Boswell's, they monitor the construction progress. We've been on the developer to make sure they completed. They have. We've done our part. I know the DPW was out there cameraing lines. We've cleaned lines, our lines that lead to this property, and the developer has since, to my understanding, to the approval of Boswell, installed the new sewer pipe that they told us they would install.
The DPW and our inspector were both there today. I know
I'm sorry, who was there today?
the DPW and DPW from the town and our inspector were both on site today to ensure there wouldn't be any flooding problem, or there wasn't any stockpiles in the way preventing the
Yeah,
drainage.
there was a complaint of dirt piled up on the property line between the township line
Right.
and the developer, and so Boswell went out again today with inspectors and with Dave from the DPW to make sure that that wasn't the case.
So, so is it resolved? Is this what you're telling me?
We'll know when it rains, that the new pipe is installed, and, Dave touched upon it, that pipe should go from our storm drains out to an outlet near the Maywood border.
So you know when it rains, that's when you find out. There's no way of knowing,
Well, we've done the best we can right now. We think we got it resolved, but when it rains, will be the test.
If that test fails, it's not something Boswell will report on at future meetings.
Oh, we could ask, yeah,
I mean,
I could ask them to make that a part of this
We have
report, sure.
inspectors on the project.
That would be great.
We'll address it as it occurs.
Thank you.
The gentleman, I know the neighbor knows where we are, showed up in our office, and we address it, as soon as he let us know there's a problem, so.
but I think that patrol would see it also too. I think patrol would see it also if there's a problem, pretty much, because I went down there and I actually looked at it and there was a problem.
Yeah, that was before the new pipe was put
Yeah,
in.
the
I understand that.
Yeah.
Now, if I go down there and look at it again, I hope I don't see anything like this.
Me too.
And it was it was pretty bad, in my opinion.
Agreed.
But, hopefully this will resolve it. This is, this is property, this is taxpayers' property. So we have to make sure that things are resolved correctly. So we're gonna look at that. Thank you.
I don't know.
What is it?
No, it's on the bond schedule. All right, anything else, Mayor?
Yep.
Thank you, Peter,
All right,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Discussion rental of the swimming pool issue that's newly arised.
Yeah, so if the committee recalls, I sent an email. We've been getting a couple complaints from residents about other residents renting out their swimming pools. I know Mr. DePizzo also followed up with some example ordinances, one from Jackson, New Jersey, a place Ms. Crivello and I are familiar with, as well as one from the city of Englewood. The Township of Jackson actually instituted one that encompasses short-term rentals, so includes the entire property. I actually, in reviewing that, think that's a good idea. So what the issue is health, safety, and welfare, right? You live at 94 Forest Place, and your next-door neighbor has an in-ground pool that they're renting out on an hourly basis. You don't know who's showing up. The police department doesn't know who's showing up. The town doesn't know who's showing up. The Board of Health doesn't know the quality of the water, right, because it's a residence. And for all we know, we're spreading disease. We're creating a bad environment. So since we started getting the complaints, I figured and I learned of the swimming pool ordinances. I forwarded this to committee and Mr. DePizzo for review and want to know if that's an avenue we want to seek. And I know we do have the issues with short-term home rentals as well. So maybe, kill the two birds with one stone.
Almost similar to like an Airbnb.
Correct.
Is the application Swimply?
It's Swimply, correct. I
Yeah.
think I may have wrote Swimly, but I think it's Swimply, correct. So there are apps out there where you can go on and find, a pool near you, and rent.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's something we want to have in
Like
town.
Airbnb.
I'm familiar with that application, and I believe that the host can actually decide what the capacity is for their backyard. So you could actually have, I've seen on there, 100 people
Pop-up party.
every 2 hours, if you wanted. So, yeah, and I know that we do have that ordinance from 2017 about short-term rental, so, and that was probably due to the rise of Airbnbs, so it would be good to be consistent.
I agree.
Yeah, there's also similar apps for parties, even if there's not a pool, that if you want to have a bridal shower at a house, you can rent a house for a few hours. So this is similar to that, and we want to prevent that from happening.
Topless all over.
So I wonder if you would actually, council, would you add that to the ordinance of the Airbnb if we decided to put that in there, not to have, or would you make a total different ordinance?
Well, the way Jackson did it was part of their short-term rental ordinance. It was just
So
basically
it's
one.
added to it?
Yeah.
In Englewood, they have a whole 2.5-page ordinance with definitions that are applicable. The answer is gonna be depending on how you use terms and define them as to whether you can get away with a 2-line insertion or whether you actually have to add definitions to the short-term rental ordinance to cover the pool. I don't know, I'm not familiar enough with your short-term rental ordinance to answer the question. I think in terms of the way to approach it, if the committee wants to move forward with it so that it's in a position to discuss something more concrete, then we could go back and I could advise Mark of your decision, or the clerk can advise Mark of your decision, and he can craft it in a way that doesn't create more paper and lose trees, but at the same time accomplishes what you want. In other words, you really only need the 2 lines. But if we have to add in definitions, then you're going to go to a page or whatever. So it becomes a matter of how do you integrate it? And that's the answer to your question. And I don't know the integration, I just know it has to be done.
Well, I could personally say, in my opinion, I'm not for it, because I think that we need to keep a community feel here, and if you went with the Airbnb, and now you're looking at the rental of the pools, you could have all different people, strangers, whatever you want to call it. I don't really want to know, I don't want to put anything out there, but in my opinion, I think that, like Administrator said, everything has to be tested, the water could be whatever, and, somebody could come back. Now, I know that would probably I believe that might fall under the homeowners, also insurance, right? So that would be there, but.
Maybe.
I was just gonna say.
Depends on whether there's a commercial exclusion in their policy.
I just looked at mine, as a matter of fact, that's why you said that, I just looked at that. So, let me explain Jackson. My brother used to live in Jackson, that's how I know, I'm familiar with Jackson. He's now in Georgia, but, they did have a situation there too. So, to me, I'm not for that, so I would, yes. I mean, you wanna take a vote or something?
I don't think we need to. I mean, I think we'll just instruct Mark to, Emery, Township Committee wants to move forward on exploration of this and, based on what this council says to him as far as looking at the need for definitions or not, we'll proceed.
Administrator's report?
Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor. Just an update on our FEMA brick grant in regards to the sewer pump station. I was reached out to by the State Police OEM, who manages the grant for FEMA for us. We had to advertise the possibility of the grant award, and it's currently being done as of June 21st. I'll notify the State Police that we've met that obligation, provide them with the publication and the certifications from the clerk. I'm told that's really good news because that probably means we're getting the grant, but that we won't know until, again, in about 6 to 8 weeks, the confirmation will come. There was a delay, had nothing to do with us, unfortunately. FEMA notified the State Police back in April that we needed to advertise. I didn't get the notification until, I don't know, what was it, Emery, on the
We
6th?
advertised on the 7th, I think.
So it was on the, I got the call on the 7th or on the 6th at like 3:30 p.m. and by that afternoon, Emery had the advertisement up on the website, excuse me, and in the newspaper. So we've met our obligations for that. I have in my notes, but just talk about it. Again, 1 Midland Street, the end of Madison Avenue, has been an issue. I apologize to the residents for not, moving along any quicker. There were some things that had to be done on both the township side as well as the developer side. Boswell was there, lockstep with us, keeping on the developer as much as we can to move ahead with that project, but we wanted to make sure it was done right. And so we had to camera several lines, we had to clean out several lines. The fear was we had one completely clogged line that was tied in. Well, we put this new pipe in and that all that material moves into the new pipe and we're back to square one. So again, the township met its obligations. We stayed on the developer to do their part, and we're hoping that it has. And, if it's not, we're going to be back with Mr. Tenkate and the, the team. And, I've said several times, and I stand by it, if we feel the developer's not meeting their obligation, I want the rest of the job shut down until such time as, but I don't get to make that decision. That's on Boswell as our engineer who will make that final determination in conjunction with our construction official. But I stand by that statement. These residents don't need to continuously have that issue. Howard Avenue, now talking about another FEMA grant, the elevation of homes. That project continues to move forward. There were site visits by the contractors, the approved contractors, with the residents and the homeowners. A lot of questions came out of it. I can tell you the consulting firm we're working with has been fantastic in getting answers. As you can imagine, FEMA is very difficult to work with. It's not an easy process, but we hope eventually, these 11 to 13 homes, should the residents go through with this, will be out of harm's way come flooding. But things are progressing there as well. I recently attended a Film Ready symposium. Basically, I'm working the township. We may have to tweak our ordinance a little bit to make us a Film Ready community through Film Ready New Jersey. Again, I had subsequent to that symposium I attended, I had a state representative contact me, and they'll be emailing me with some of the suggestions for our current ordinance once they review it. I reached out to the Lodi Borough Administrator. He provided me with their recently executed ordinance on that, so we have a great start there too. Committee's already aware, but an update on our planning board attorney resigned. The firm has nobody else to send us. I've been working with the chairman on getting a replacement. He reached out today and told me that Mr. Mondello, our current zoning board attorney, has expressed a willingness and interest to be our planning board attorney. We're just waiting on the confirmation of whether or not he can make this month's meeting. He did request the same compensation as he receives as zoning board, which is something that will be addressed in the salary ordinance that's before you. Chestnut Street, the study was provided to the committee. If you recall, you got it. Lieutenant Kukulski provided us with a very comprehensive review. One suggestion is a mid-block crosswalk I could tell you, in order to do that, we would, it's spelled out in our ordinance, mid-block crosswalks, how to go about doing that. And we'd have to designate the area. I'd probably have to bring in Boswell Engineering, because we're gonna have to do ADA compliant cutouts to make a walkway. You can't just have a crosswalk leading to curb. Obviously, that wouldn't help our disabled residents, so we would have to do that, and then make sure that the crosswalk is the MUTCD requirements as well. So I ask that you review that study and let me know if you want to proceed with that anytime soon, and I will task Boswell with coming up with a proposal. Another ordinance I just learned of today that I will send to you folks forthwith is on electric scooters. I received it from another municipality. Saddlebrook actually just instituted it. I sent it to my same traffic officers and immediately received back 3 responses. Chief, we really need this. For those of you that drive around town, you probably see the recklessness of these folks on electric scooters, electric bikes. Who doesn't wear helmets? Who rides on the wrong side of the road? They think they're exempt. Unfortunately, some state statutes don't address that behavior. It could be done within this ordinance, so I'll probably forward something to you folks, like I said, soon. I think that's all I have, Mayor, at this time, and I'll clean up whatever as we go through the rest of the meeting.
Ordinance introduction?
Well, 1 second,
Oh,
please.
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
Dean,
Yes, ma'am.
electric scooters, electric bikes you have here, are you talking about them riding on the road that's causing problems?
Correct. The unsafe darting in and out of traffic, not obeying traffic laws, etc. Not wearing helmets.
So is there no law that says they can or cannot do that?
The laws, there is, but the ordinance would allow us to enforce the storage of these because we know they're a fire hazard. It's very comprehensive, so it'll be an all-encompassing ordinance to help keep the homes, residents safer, as well as enforce motor vehicle laws.
So you're looking for an ordinance, I understand with the storage, you know, they talk about that. So you're looking for an ordinance to enforce motor vehicle statutes, right?
Some things are not covered in motor vehicle statutes for these.
For their scooters and
Right.
electric bikes.
Correct, because they're not considered cycles, they're not considered a motor vehicle, so, but, again, it's looking for discussion on it. I'll propose sending you Saddlebrook's ordinance and take a look at it, and I'll have our traffic officers write again, do a quick study on what this would help us do.
And you're seeing a lot of this?
I'm not, but my officers apparently are, because I sent out that email and within minutes received 3 responses from proactive officers who are out there on patrol, and like, Chief, this would be outstanding to have. This would be a help. So once I got that, I said, all right, I'll send this to the township. That literally occurred today, right before 6 o'clock.
Great, okay.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of them. I see them leaving on Passaic Street, which could be very dangerous.
Yeah, I'm not compared to Hudson County, but they're all over, and they do like 35, 40 miles an
They
hour.
move,
They're
yeah.
moving.
They ride on sidewalks,
Cutting through lights.
in out parking lots, and again, motor vehicle laws won't address private parking lots or on sidewalks.
5-mile-per-hour scooters,
Yeah, they're moving.
They go pretty fast that I know, of, right?
Yeah, they do. They
Up to
move.
40?
some of them.
So, I mean, that's why I'm wondering, why wouldn't there be any kind of state statute under the police for something like that? That's odd.
State statutes don't foresee everything, right? And again, they're operating on sidewalks, and that's something that, not.
Is there an age on that also for riding them, or no?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm
I'll
just
find out.
curious
Yeah,
of that too,
yeah.
because I've seen little, like,
Correct.
years ago, we used to call them mopeds, right? Remember the mopeds that we used to, I mean, I'm aging myself here, but, you could have a 7-year-old riding or younger,
Sure.
but, you could get hurt, severely hurt, and I know there's,
So back to Jackson, my son had gotten an electric scooter that didn't go 1/3 of the speed these do, and they had an ordinance in place. My son was stopped on the street for riding an electric scooter in the roadway because they had an ordinance to protect children, basically, and they knocked on my door and said, you can't have this on the roadways in Jackson. So it worked, it worked there, and now we see it's adults, and they're putting pedestrians at risk by riding on sidewalks, people in
I've
parking
seen that
lots.
too, I've seen on
And
sidewalks.
that's what and it'll address those concerns as well, the ordinance. And again, looking for discussion.
Great, thank you.
All right, I'm gonna open up the public portion. Make a motion, open up the public portion.
Motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Public portion, all items asked for a motion to open public portion at this time. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This time we are open for public portion. This time I don't see anybody stepping up. Oh, all right, no problem, take your time, take your time.
I just will take my 3 minutes. Well, Mr. Lawyer, you gotta use a timer.
What do-
All I have to say is,
Roughly.
anybody who votes on this bond ordinance full of pork fat like the federal government, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, because you're clearly not worried about the residents of Rochelle Park. Now we're gonna have $18 million bonded out, right? You know that? You're also voted for an increase in the taxes in this town with record revenue. Who are you working for? Really? You say you care about the residents, but clearly you don't. It's loaded with pork fat, it's loaded with stuff that's not needed. We're a 1 mile square town, 1 mile. We're not growing. We're not buying property from Paramus or Fairlawn, we're not buying it. And it's a disgrace that you don't have an idea about the residents of this town. And right now, the outside from the federal, it's a mess. People are hurting, and you increase their taxes with record revenue. I'm shorter than 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Waste of money. We have nothing to hold on to over here. Live out in West Older Street. A $2 million bond is gonna hurt the taxpayer. Some of the things in the bonds, we have no choice about. But there are other things that are just repetitious. Okay? Let alone last year, you passed over $2 million almost $2 million in bonds, and now you're adding it. 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, the last 3 or 4 years, our debt was about 12 million. Now we're going up to 18 if you pass this bond. Okay? Like I said, some things are essential. Like one of the bonds last year was for $240,000 to fix the problem with Gertrude Avenue area. Okay? Essential. But some of the things for some of the departments are so repetitious, and statement that goes with the statement of where it's being dispensed to is the same thing over and over again. You were elected to help us keep our taxes low. You're doing just the opposite. You're working for developers, you're working for vendors, you're working for everybody but the taxpayer. And you sit there with these faces on saying, oh, here I am again complaining. Yes, I think I should complain. I think there should be 100 people out here complaining. And why aren't they? What I hear is, why? They don't let you talk, they don't answer any questions. Dean, I'm sorry, in my opinion, acting as administrator and police chief is a conflict of interest. The police chief has to keep the police department under tow, and the administrator has to worry about the running of the town and the finances. You have a wish list for the police department, I believe, because a lot of it goes towards you.
That's the least amount of this bond goes towards the police department.
When you planned the new so-called TOFA paid for municipal building that fell through, who did you think about? There was no library. There was no senior center. That showed one interest for you, the police. We need police, and I think they're very well paid. But every time I come, somebody wants a new police special officer, dispatcher, or something. We're 1 square mile. That hasn't changed. I'm judging you not on your personal, I'm judging you on how you're functioning up there, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
So as far as the municipal complex that was being built, I've said it several times from the dais, and I'll repeat it. While the plans were very preliminary, they included all of the town hall and the police department. It wasn't just the police department. What couldn't be included because of the height, we didn't know if we were going to add another floor or not, was the library and senior center. However, there were other discussions with redevelopment council, with the committee at the time. We said we could look at off-site. Then the project stalled because the DEP changed the maps of Rochelle Avenue, what could be built. So it was never anything in secret. The plans were always available. And that's the truth of the matter. So to sit here and say I was only looking to build a police department, that's not truth.
Well, you had said originally you were planning to put the library up in the Tyson house. Why don't you put the police department up in that Tyson house?
That could have been an option as well, sure.
Yeah, but you didn't think of that, did you?
Should I move the library and tax office up? What's the difference? I mean, what do you?
No, what I'm saying is, it's a conflict of interest. to
It's a
have
conflict
such-
of interest, Mrs. Houghton. We're your only 24/7, 365 service, right? So we were looking at the best options for the police, town hall, and what could be fit on that parcel. It didn't happen. And there was nothing beyond that, and this committee was kept abreast of it because it came to a sudden stop midway.
Right.
So they were told, these plans they're nothing, they're garbage, they're trash. And they were never approved, they were never where I said, this is great, I have to find an alternate location for library. It was, can we add another floor? And then we can't do anything because the DEP just changed the mapping. That's how it went down. But listen, we're gonna stay in this building, we're gonna evacuate this building every time it floods. What we're still gonna do is be at your home, God forbid you need us, within 30 seconds to 2 minutes, because that's what we do, and that's what we're responsible for.
Now, as far as Rochelle Avenue is concerned, okay?
Mhm.
I know it's a mess to commute on it anyway, but, it's something we have to deal with, all right? But with the $10 million the county is getting to help us do Rochelle Avenue, what exactly are we doing to Rochelle Avenue?
Again, those are preliminary plans. Committeewoman Peachy, I believe, Mayor, were you at the meeting?
Yes.
So we got to see the preliminary plans. There's widenings going on. They will be replacing the traffic signal and area at Rochelle Avenue, Rochelle Lots and Central. Rochelle and Terrace, they'll replace the traffic signalization area, widen that intersection. Pretty much from Chestnut Avenue South to Railroad Avenue would be widened as much as it can.
What about the rest of Rochelle Avenue?
Yeah, it will be resurfaced. We are pushing for, as a township, for continuing widening because we know you're only going to move one bottleneck from 17 to that area of Rochelle Avenue if it's not completely widened. The answer is, well, Chief, Administrator, that's a lot of land acquisition. My answer was, well, too bad, get more money from the state. And that's been our stance. We've sent them our changes to the shared service agreement via Mr. DePisa. We wait to hear back.
So as far as the repaving of Rochelle Avenue and putting in curbs, so kids don't get, hurt or any pedestrian or any taxpayer in town, that's going to be from Essex Street to Passaic Street.
Right now, Rochelle and Railroad is a separate project,
Right.
so that area will get redone eventually.
Does that have to come out of the 10 million?
No, that's a separate.
Okay.
So the 10 million was for pretty much Central Avenue north to Passaic Street,
To Passaic Street.
correct. And then you run into the issue of the storefronts between Chestnut and Marinas because of the taking away of their parking lot.
And these plans are available for site?
You would have to ask the county to see them. It's very preliminary plans that they have, their engineering.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Houghton, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
You said there's duplications on this bond? There's duplications on this bond, is that what you said?
There's duplications, yes.
Can you give
I
me an
didn't
idea?
have time to do a lot of investigation.
I
just
could-
did that last year's.
I may help, and
Go ahead.
she's right, there are.
You're
Mrs. Howland's
using the same
correct.
paragraph to save time,
So
but it's not accurate.
So the paragraphs are written by bond counsel, an
Right.
attorney who specializes in writing these bonds. Mr. Rigatano's here, and he can explain more because he's probably done more of these than anybody in this room combined. But there is some duplication as well as far as some of the items that we bond for. Turnout gear for the fire department, we buy 5 sets of gear so that they don't have aged gear. Portable radios, we've been doing a replacement of radios. This year, there was more that need to be replaced. Same with the water rescue gear, the Cascade system that I have listed, and the SCBA tanks, we actually have a $67,000 grant, so that'll come off of this number, as will some of the local improvements that we're making to Township building and grounds, part of this number. I got a local recreation grant from the state of New Jersey for, I just have the number in front of me, it's $65,798. So again, you add that up, you're looking at about $130,000 comes off of this, and granted, it's $2,043,000. That's a large number. Take off the $800,000 for this roof because it had to have been done. It should have been done a long time ago, correct. And the only way to do that is bonding. As you know, we can't add that to our budget. That's too large of a number. And you're down to around the number of what we bonded for the last several years. And we will cancel out debts as we get more grants for these. One of them being, again, the pump station. We've been asked by members of this audience, meeting after meeting, what are you doing about the pump station? Are you putting money? Well, here we are. We're doing that. By this bond ordinance, we're putting money towards that project. Well, guess what? If we get that brick grant, which I'm more confident today than I was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we can cancel out some of that debt. And again, I'll allow Mr. Rigatano to expand upon that. But there is some repetitiveness because some of these things, trees, sidewalks, need to be replaced, and the number is just too large to do in the municipal portion of the budget, so you have to do it through bond ordinance.
So you're saying that, I'm just giving an example, what you said about turnout gear, you're bonding like 5 each year, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
So that's what.
That's been the pattern at the fire
That's the
department.
pattern, that's repetitive.
But I believe they have a 10-year, 5 or 10-year endurance, so it's got to be
Lifespan.
1 year where you don't need that.
I was asked by the fire chief this year for 5 sets of gear. I have to trust him as my professional volunteer that he needs them. Because I don't want to be the person standing over a gravesite of a volunteer telling their family member that I'm sorry he didn't have the right gear.
Fine. I had another question for you.
Sure.
I don't know what it was. Oh, well.
Well, and with the,
And there's tons, there are, again, I've sat at these meetings and I've heard you, and the fact is you can't hear me, so I had to put $43,000 in here to redo the sound system. These numbers add up at the end of the day. So, and by the way, I was able to
I
join.
think it's too late to get that grant from the county,
Which one?
the one for
Yeah, it
audio.
was,
things like sound system and the roof, this is why we explored maybe having a building elsewhere.
Correct.
That was an exploratory thing. The comments and the questions, that was all preliminary and exploratory. We figured out that that's something that's not possible at this point, so now we need to put the money into this roof, into this sound system.
the senior center alone has a trip hazard that it's had for probably 5 years. It has, I don't think it's been refurbished since they elevated the floor of this building. Our seniors have asked and asked and asked. And it's time, I believe, to make those improvements.
You also have a resolution about the max salaries,
Correct.
okay?
There's an ordinance. That's a salary ordinance. So what we
That's the
do.
one for this year now.
That's
We're
the
not
one
going
for-
to get it every 3 months now.
Nope,
are
that's
we?
what you're going to see is a resolution with the actual salary increases, which, by the way, cost the Township of Rochelle Park for every employee $41,911.79. That's what the 3% raise across the board, including the dispatchers. That's what it's going to cost to use the taxpayer.
And we need another dispatch.
That's a per diem dispatcher that only get paid if they show up to work at $18 per hour, which I'm surprised
We
I
have
get.
6 of them now, right?
I have 3. I have two current. They come and they go. They remain, oh yeah, chief, call us if you need us, but they don't want to work. So I have this one who's willing and she's.
Maybe you should go back to part-time, no benefits then.
That's what this is.
That's what
That's
per
what
diem
it is.
is.
That's what per diem is.
That's what per
This is
diem is.
$18 an hour.
You know?
I have 4 full-time dispatchers. They take off, they're entitled to vacation time. Rather than sitting a police officer there for a minimum $39 an hour, I could put a civilian dispatcher per diem for $18 an hour, because I'm thinking about the taxpayer at the end of the
But you
day.
gave some of these people on your maximum a very big jump if they got there.
So Dean, I spoke to you about that salary range also. So that's the low to the high.
Correct,
So you go anywhere in between,
correct,
correct?
yes.
But anybody that's hired, it shows what the salary is on the,
When they're hired, their actual resolution appointing them will show their salary, as well as all that
so
information
that
available.
range is just giving us how high you can go, how low you can go. kind of
Correct.
thing. So that right now,
we're looking for a new laborer. Well, we're not, but let's assume we were looking for a new DPW laborer. Well, that's contractual, a bad example. We're looking for a clerk, a records clerk, or an administrative assistant. That would be covered, that range. If someone comes to me and says, I'm out of college, I have no municipal experience, as we've done with recent positions, we were able to say, okay, we now have a range, we're going to start them, again, via approval by this governing body at the lower end. They come to us and they have an amazing amount of experience, and we can go, all right, now, do we want to start them close to the top, because we know several other municipalities.
So it's on their qualifications.
Correct,
Okay,
correct,
so that's where the range is. Now,
correct.
I have a question, and I'm sorry, Mary Ellen.
You're good.
Because I'm referring back to Mrs. Houghton. You know, we're looking at this bond ordinance, and I see 800,000 to the roof, which of course includes other costs, soft costs, hard costs, whatever costs, right? So that doesn't mean it's going to be 800,000, or does it?
No, we hope we come under. I have a quote for a little bit less.
Right, and that would take off of that too.
Correct, we would
And
eventually.
this is the first time this has been presented as a bond request for the roof.
Correct, that, as long as I can remember. In a while. It's, Bob could probably tell you, it's been 20 years, 15 years, a long time.
So this is, like I said, this is the first time that this roof needs to be replaced, and that is the largest portion of it at $800,000.
That is correct.
But as long as this, you're portioning these at that kind of cost, it doesn't mean they're going to come in at that. That's the maximum you're looking at for that bond.
It's the maximum we'll have to spend. We can't spend any
Right,
more.
and that's also if you get any kind of grants, and to that factor, this also takes off. Am I right, Mr. Rigatano?
Absolutely.
That would take off, because I think we just did that with another,
Road program.
the road program, and that took off from that too. And I'm not justifying it. I'm not doing either or. I'm just saying, this is the first time this is being bonded for that roof that probably, in my opinion, needed to be replaced a long time ago. That's my opinion. I don't know how long, can you give me an estimate that you know how long that roof has been leaking?
So the roof has been leaking. We have explored maybe getting another building altogether.
I know
We've
all
done
about that.
some
Right.
patch repairs that we thought might work. They worked to a degree and then they didn't work. But we were trying to do the least expensive way. But we knew that it was coming, that the roof would have to be repaired altogether.
Okay.
So we did these patch repairs. We tried a couple of different things with that.
And now the whole thing has to be done.
It has,
The lower portion.
the
Do
low,
you know
yeah.
what the square footage of that is? Is it?
It's the one portion of,
Please hold it down in the
It's pretty much
audience.
the footprint of this lower level. Dave, you know
This whole
what the square footage is of this lower roof? Yeah, you don't know off the top of your head. Yeah.
Okay. But this is the first time that you've seen it. That's my question.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Marilyn. You're good.
Mary Ellen Pardo, 161 West Oldest. I'm coming up here because I watched the video from your last meeting where the pride flag was brought up, and I want to thank Mrs. Crivello and Mr. Miller for your votes of yes on that one. I was glad to see also that it was rectified after the weekend when it was only up for like 1 second.
Yeah, can I
The
apologize for
duration
that?
has been changed on
Yeah,
that one.
so that was through no fault, it's my fault, I'll take full ownership of it. When I set it up, I had no idea that it's a background tab, and it defaulted to 1 second. I set that up probably May 20th to start on June 1st at midnight.
Well, thank you for correcting.
As soon as and I have to be honest with you, it wasn't via Facebook or complaints. I happened to be driving in that morning when it defaulted to 1 second. So I immediately changed it, and I apologize for that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so, and again, like, if we have it on the electronic board, okay, so we're showing it, but we can't put a flag, so I just don't understand that. And also, I'm sad to see that Mrs. Peachy isn't here, because I thought you're up here to represent the residents and stand up for us and do what's right for us. I didn't like to hear that businesses complained, so it seems as though they take priority over the residents, and that seems ridiculous. I'd like to know what these businesses are, because I might not frequent them anymore. On my Facebook memories, my son's speech, I know many of you remember from 2 years ago, came up. And he stood up here and he poured his heart out. And his words to you were, any child here that belongs to the LGBTQ community is not welcomed here and is not supported. And that's a shame. And I tell you, I work in Glen Rock. They have a flag day, they have pride in the park, they have vendors. You know, I don't see riots happening there. So I just don't understand what it is. Last year, we voted yes, but maybe it's because it was an election year for certain people and they thought that would help them. But now we flip-flop back to we're not putting up. I mean, it looks ridiculous. We put it up, we don't put it up. I mean, just be uniformed and support your community. I've heard more people here coming up asking for the pride flag. Where are these businesses? Let them come to these meetings and complain. I don't hear them. Apparently you do. Represent the people.
I do. This time, nobody else is coming up. Motion to close public portion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, while we have Mr. Rigatano here, do you want him to go over this?
Sure.
So the bond is, as everyone has said, roughly $2 million. However, none of this money is spent unless there's a resolution that comes before the Township Committee. With or without that bond in place, obviously it's got to be in place, and the money has to be in place before a purchase order is even going to be issued. So you have full control of every dollar in this bond ordinance that's proposed. Everyone up here has said it properly, including the public. We don't spend the money unless it's vetted through the purchasing laws where you're going to bid it out, such as the roof or any other item that's over $40,000.
Or it's been bidded out through a co-op.
Or a co-op or a
Or
state contract.
contractor, right.
But I want to assure the public that no money is spent here unless it is completely vetted through all legal terms, including the administrator, myself, and of course the bond counsel, it's the person himself, Steve Rogert. So, and also the councilwoman, Township Committee person also made it very clear. There's grants out there. We cut some already this year. We got some grants this year we didn't anticipate. One was for the road program. We took it right off the top of the debt. The debt outstanding, I'm going to go through that later on after this is issued. It's not $18 million, but we'll go through that.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
So very brief, but there were lots of questions, so let's go through it because I think everyone should know that what this money is potentially going to be spent on. The first one is the removal or replacement of trees and the improvements to sidewalks. I, as your CFO, don't know what sidewalks have to be done, but there is a list. That list is comprised from the DPW and the administrator. Is every item on that sidewalk going to be repaired? It's all going if the money exists. But again, there's money for trees and sidewalks.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry about that. I believe that some of the trees may be built into the cost of the repairs of the streets. Is that also?
This is separate and apart from that, right?
Okay.
I know David started a tree replacement program a couple of years ago. This is all outside that. What I've started to do, so we don't have to put bond every year for trees, is anytime we do a road replacement project, and it's through Dave's assistant, like literally when we just walked Berdan Street to apply for that NJDOT grant, we made it very clear to Mr. McGinnis, we want at least 30 to 40 trees planted on Berdan Street as part of the project.
So this is not duplicating again?
No, these
that
are,
would not be
listen,
going back.
we
Can't
understand.
keep going and duplicating
There's
things.
no
then.
duplication.
I just want to clarify, when we're speaking about trees here, right?
So with the trees, you also have the beautification grant.
That's right.
That money's coming out of there.
Mhm.
There's other avenues besides this bond for tree replacement.
Okay, and the sidewalks, Jim, about how many do you do with that kind of money, guesstimate?
I'm going to turn to Dave. How many would you say on that list? Sidewalks. So you see, they really can't hear us back there.
Yeah, about like a whole block or something like, with this kind of money, guesstimate.
We gotta be very careful how we word this, because if you decide that whatever trees right now that are out there that are ruining sidewalks, probably talking hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of concrete work. Easy, if not more. The procedure that we do is when the homeowner approaches us, I go out, I inspect, I look at the tree, I evaluate the tree. If the tree is an issue and there's a way to work around saving the tree and making the sidewalk a little, rearranging how the path of the sidewalk goes, because we have usually a 10 to 15 feet from the curb into the property, we rearrange that path. I'll create a little bit more space. It was something also that I brought up to the.
Yeah, I'm going to cut you off here, Dave, for a second. Also, part of this, and Dave's very familiar with it, it was brought to our attention, and we've both seen it in use now. It's a saw machine that basically cuts concrete sidewalks. That is part of this bond. We were looking to purchase that machine. Dave has gone, he and Mike, his lead labor, have gone for the training. They're for it. That's another way we could save some money going forward, but you have to spend the money to save the money right now. We have to get the saw blades and the saw, and that is a part of this bond.
It'll buy a little time by grinding down, basically grind down some of the sidewalks. You got some slabs that are up, it's a 4-inch slab, the slab's sticking up 4 inches into the air. Clearly that's a major problem, but our program that we're doing takes roughly a year that we go through. So people that are coming to me now are going out next year. So I'm asking for the money now from people that were on that came to me last year and got on the list. So it's a wonderful
Cyclic.
So we're covering under our list. I forget what it is, but it is. Basically, we're covered.
Well, as you remember from your joint insurance fund training, right, they don't expect municipalities to be able to pay for every sidewalk repair. You would bankrupt most municipalities. We're in the same boat, but we're taking proactive action and meeting more than the minimum, but we're at least meeting the minimum and then some to address our unsafe sidewalks. By doing this, that helps us.
Can you share out, it says various locations, is that really all over town? Or
Yeah, Dave has, like you said, he has a list that varies. Very similar to the tree list you saw, Committeeman Miller. Yeah.
This list coming out, and it's roughly going to be probably close to about $40,000 just in concrete. And then it will go from there. So there's trees that will have to come down, some trees that will take down ourselves, some trees on the.
And then the plants.
That's the only thing that would be required, that's separate.
The sound system.
Yeah, it seems to be an airflow.
The air conditioning is hitting one of the microphones.
The next item is the sanitary storm water sewer systems repairs at various locations. One, out of this $225,000, you had an emergency this year. Chief, forgive me, 40,000?
Mr. Tenke just went over it. We got a bid of $38,100.
40,000. So you already authorized out of this $40,000 of a collapsed sewer that had to be repaired.
Right. And then what we want to do is, because we've seen the issue with infiltration during every flooding event to our sewer system that we're paying for towards PCUA, to reline the portion that has yet to be done, and that'll also be part of it.
Reline the sewer system, is that what you're talking about?
I don't think it's that. Yes.
Mine?
There you go.
It's mine.
No, we fixed it.
Oh, okay. Because you did it
It's
the
magic.
same night that, so you're saying reline what, the sewer lines?
Yes, correct, because again, groundwater seepage into our system, we pay for when it gets, metered out.
And then the roof itself, 800,000, still bidding it, still betting on that.
So let me just jump back 1 second more. I know that I spoke to Dean about this, it's his period of usefulness is 15 years.
Yes.
He explained that, Roy, that's
All right, so
You
what
explain that.
happens is.
a period of usefulness.
So the usefulness is defined by statute, by law, such as an SUV vehicle. You're allowed to bond an SUV vehicle. It has a 5-year life. That means over 5 years, you need to pay off that portion of that bond.
Has nothing to do with the actual, that car could last you 10 years, but
Right.
under
But
the
under the
law,
law, there has to be some type of time period to pay off the debt.
So that's in 15 years on here.
Yes.
And then it has, that portion of it has to be paid off, one way or
It has to be
another.
paid off. That's the maximum. Here, we pay them off earlier. The next item is the senior room. That's $60,000 of the senior room. Chief, you had the detail on that? For the senior room, I believe it was the flooring?
there's flooring and there's other work that DPW was able to get a quote based on the amount of work we need. Yeah, but most of it is the flooring. We plan on taking out any carpeting because it's ruined, it's dirty, it's a trip hazard. Putting a laminate type floor in there, as well as making any necessary repairs to the walls and the trim and painting that room. We hope to do as well with the DPW's assistance. But those upgrades are mostly for the flooring.
What kind of floor are you looking to put in there for $60,000?
It's laminate flooring and
Basically, you have that rubber, you have the dance floor and you have the carpet. So you have to have a separation between the two. And what's happening is our elderly that are in that room all the time, I'm not trying to put anybody down.
But I've been in that room, so go ahead.
But they can't bring up their legs as high enough as maybe they could in the past. But they're tripping and they're catching that rubber separation.
Oh, you're talking about the dance
The
floor?
border
the
between
rubber
the,
thing?
yeah.
Hang on, Dale, I got it. You're talking about the rubber thing with the dance floor and the carpet.
We've
That's,
been in there countless times, re-gluing it back down to the floor. I've had the vendor that installed it, he's like, there's nothing more that we can do. You're doing what we're doing, so, us to come back and do it, and there's nothing, and even Bob was doing, going to try to do it, there's nothing. So the floating floor is a laminate floor, so it's all going to be one type, no carpet, so that the stains are not going to be prevalent that you see anywhere else, and it should look nice.
so are you going to get rid of the dance floor area and then just,
It'll just be.
the whole thing is going to be one?
Yep.
And that's going to be in the kitchen part also, or no?
I'd have to double check the quote, to be honest with you, what the square foot measurement was. It may not, because that's a tile floor in the kitchen. So that may be.
So you believe you're doing this, I mean, I understand what you're saying, it's a trip hazard, I understand what you're saying.
We're trying to take care of that problem, but we're also, that carpet, I don't think it's been replaced. I don't know. I wanted to do whatever we got told.
I'm looking at the quote, there is replacement of vinyl tile, so I'm sure they're doing it all as well.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item is improvements to the recreation buildings and facilities. And here's a good example that you brought up. The appropriation is $170,000, but there's a DCA grant that's going to offset some of this debt in a tune of $67,000.
Yeah, it's actually 65,798. I found the actual number. It's a local recreation improvement grant from New Jersey DCA that we were approved for. Again, these are reimbursable, so we have to lay out that money, but then we can, through the state, get that money back and cancel that debt.
Right.
And I can tell you both Houghton Hall and Matthews Field roofs are beyond in need of repair.
So we're looking mostly at that's the building and facility, so you look at the roofs on both of those, right? I mean, I just, saw something with the batting cage. There was a problem with the shovel or something that was put in. What was that? Something was destroyed down there recently with a shovel that they found.
Oh, the one dugout roof. Yeah, well, we're doing a lot of work at Carlisle Field upcoming. Through two grants that we were able to combine as well as a previous.
That also is part of the grant, is that right?
We'll look into fixing that. That's separate from the grant, but there are grants.
To bring this down for that. with that, I got it, I know what you're saying.
The pavilion, the water mister system, that's all separate. The bocce ball court, that's a separate project from this bond.
Okay.
But there's issues that need to be repaired. Houghton Hall has sinking stairwells that have a concrete pad rather. We're lacking some security cameras that we'll talk about later on, but that's, assigned to the police department, but they're going in the parks. Police department will monitor the systems. I'm sorry, Wayne.
The next item is $80,000. That is for the OEM building and the firehouse. On the OEM building, Chief, I believe that was for flooding situation?
This is these repairs are for HVAC. We have, that's now our EOC, so when there's an emergency, we use the small conference room to meet. It has no heat or cooling because it was just a structure installed as a closet back in the day by our volunteer EMS. So we're going to install its own HVAC unit for there, as well as for the Bay Area, as well as there's some other flooring issues with that building that will be addressed. And same thing with the firehouse. This is all part of one. The fire headquarters out of this 80 grand also has several issues with their flooring that's been buckled, and I forget what's the word you used, Dave? The floor in the firehouse, you used a different word than buckled. I know there was some issues, but again, it's unsafe and it's been
The floor
years.
of the firehouse.
It's been years.
There's more to getting before, and whether it was from any one of the earlier floods or something else, but there was a floor drain underneath there that at some point when it was closed up, I'm not sure if it was done properly. I don't know the answer to that, but clearly, there was a severe trip hazard, probably worse than what was advanced work, in a certain area of the firehouse, in the meeting.
Thank you. Yep. I'm trying to get a word to use, but it's fine. It's basically buckling and it's a trip hazard.
So why is this emergent OEM building?
So
Not
that's,
OEM building, it's an emergency service building, correct?
yeah, it's currently
How does it
occupied by
operate?
Hackensack University Medical Center,
Right.
and our Office of Emergency Management occupies the office space and uses the conference room down there. So again, these are my notes. That's how I call it. So I can
Let me
separate the
understand this.
project.
Why would you air condition a Bay Area?
Because
So we use that as our station for during Hurricane Isaias. It was very uncomfortable in there. And you had people from all of our emergency services trying to work. It got very hot and humid in there. When we opened the doors, the wind was blowing. You couldn't hear each other. And the papers were flying everywhere. And when you have a command center during a flood, you need to be able to hear each other. You have the radios coming in. You have all kinds of emergency services trying to communicate with each other. It was uncomfortable, but more than that, it could have been dangerous because it was very difficult to hear and communicate.
Doesn't a Bay Area have the doors going up and down all the time?
So when it's used as
So when
EOC,
it's-
part of our agreement with Hackensack University Medical Center is they must vacate the bays, and it's used solely as a meeting room. The IC would only be turned on when that happens. I can assure you that.
Go back a second, one second. You said with the emergency ambulances there, they would have to vacate?
Yeah, I know, when I negotiated the contract with them, the lease, that's part of the agreement. Matter of fact, they would leave the second floor if need be for the police department to occupy as a temporary headquarters should we lose this building for more than we've been lucky. The past few storms, only 10 to 12 hours, but we've been able to keep our dispatchers here surrounded by water, but we've been able to do that. So, but if we needed to occupy it, that's part of the lease agreement. They understand that.
And you're also going to upgrade the HVAC at the firehouse? Is that what else?
That's part of the
Upgrade or
PSE&G grant for,
Right.
that was separate. That's just the heating unit at the firehouse, right?
The next item is the hook body truck replacement equipment, $75,000. This was a piece of equipment that's going to be purchased from the truck that was purchased last year. These are add-ons to the truck.
Correct.
That's
And
how I understand it.
this was, yeah, that is correct. Excuse me. This will also bolster the DPW's availability, correct me if I'm wrong, for salting. Yeah, and again, $75,000 to come out of the municipal budget would just be too much. It's easier to bond it, makes more sense to bond it. This will also allow Dave to decommission one of his smaller dump trucks once this comes in, if I'm also correct to that. The Salter, I'm sorry.
The other one is the truck.
The truck itself replaces this.
Replacing the smaller truck, the Salter is replacing the Salter from it.
So again, we're not just adding to the fleet. We will, once that happens, once Dave has the truck and the salt box, we can now decommission a Salter and a dump truck.
With this one, I'd be able to decommission two.
Perfect. And there you go. So we will auction those off, and again,
Could you keep it as a spare or auction it off?
I would keep one of the small ones as a spare and auction
The next item is quite a bit of equipment. It is it's $165,000. It incorporates the acquisition or replacement of equipment specifically for communication signaling systems. It is for the fire department as well, for the turnout gear, water rescue equipment, and self-contained breathing apparatus equipment. And again, because of the lure of ultra-high frequency, some more radio replacements. Those are basically state mandate as far as the turnout gear. As a firefighter, I can tell you, no fat in this one. The next item,
Wait, 1 second. The radios that I understand were, the roof was leaking in the police department area. Were there radios destroyed over there also
no.
that you used? So these are new radios.
These are portable radios for the fire department.
This has nothing to do with the police department.
Correct.
Thank you.
acquisition, $50,000, that is for equipment, machinery for portable water barriers for flood mitigation for the use of OEM. That's for flooding.
Somebody explain that to me.
Sure, so combined with last year's,
No,
combined with, I'll explain as best, I'll explain as best I can, and if the OEM coordinator thinks he could add, I would love for him to do so. We're combined with last year's bond for the same product. This will allow us to protect our EOC, which we've seen water in those bays, including, and as well as the firehouse. So when we're in a meeting area, trying to respond to people's cries for help during a flood, we ourselves are not flooding. These are portable barriers that get erected and prevent floodwaters from coming into those buildings, which again, firehouse and the OEM slash EMS.
But this could be used by the DPW because it's down a little further, or no?
No, Pete had originally asked for a larger amount so we could protect the DPW area, but if Pete, if you want to elaborate, you can, but we opted to go with, for now, for strictly emergency, no port, right? We'll work with
What does it look like? What is it, like a water?
It's like a big inflatable, basically, right, Pete, if you want to?
Depends on which one we go with, being, and the reason that we included the DPW one, it didn't look like we were going to get that brick grant to be able to move the station. So what we did was we talked to the two vendors and we asked them to actually design a system for us that now encompasses the DPW. Being that you're going to be moving the substation, or the pump station rather, it doesn't look like that's going to be necessary. So what we're looking to do is protect from the post office, the property line, right? Alongside the firehouse parking lot, okay, going up toward the DPW, they're making a turn up toward Rochelle Avenue, protecting the back of that building. Now, Dave alluded to the fact that he thinks that water flows the problem in the firehouse for that Florida bubble. I will tell you, that building flooded in '99, flooded in '07, minor, but major flooding in '99, flooded in 2021, and it flooded in 2011, all the major events. 2011, we had to evacuate that building and set up in the school because we had taken on water. In '99, we were ready to evacuate. We had called in all the units to protect us and be able to operate. It wasn't necessary. And in 2021, we prepared to move to the school. As we didn't have to, the building is taken on the water. We chose to stay in that building. We accepted at one time we were evacuated. So what that barriers are going to do is going to protect the front of the building. It's protected the water from the Saddle River coming up past the DPW garage, coming into the side of that building by the front door along the side of that building where the kitchen area is.
Yeah.
That is the water coming in. That is a good reason why, and I would say that I would bet that that's the reason why that's flooded. We have water in the back of that building as well, we also have an ambulance. So what we're asking for is really to protect that. But also with this barrier system, whichever one we go with, either one of those two, will allow the fire department, will allow us as emergency managers to be able to get in and out of that building. These aren't barriers that go up against the door and protect the, you can't get out and you can't get in. These are barriers that protect the perimeter of that building. Not to belabor the point also, but in 2 or 3 of those cases, we actually pulled dirty barriers off the road project. And in fact, filled with gravel, using that as a type of barrier to protect the building. Right, this is going to enable us to be able to deploy the system ourselves, not get dirty barriers, be able to have some protection. And I will tell you, in 1977, the building was built in 78, 77, that property did flood. Okay, nothing before the building was built.
I remember when the building was built. I remember the pilings they put in there, and I remember all about the flooding too. My question is, the barriers, when you have those barriers and you gotta move those trucks, how are you gonna move those barriers when you're pulling out trucks?
You don't have to, it's going to go in a
No, I'm just asking that question that you're talking about. You set the post office down, right?
From the post office, if you're looking at the post office.
Yeah.
Right, going east and west. This is going to take from the building of the post office, it's going to curve, and over the curve, and it's going to head south alongside the parking lot. Okay, there'll be a barrier probably about 7, 8 feet, 10 feet maybe, between the building, and that's going to go alongside, let's say, the middle of the parking lot where the DPW and then surround the building.
No, what you're saying, in the back.
In the back of the
Yeah.
building. It's not going to be anywhere in front of that building, except for water from getting to the front, which means the front door will be open, the bay doors will be open for accessible. Okay, and allow firemen to be able to get in and out, we just can't park in that lot, which we would be more park anyway.
Right.
But it's not going to be up against the doors, and it's not even going to be up against the building. It will allow for a barrier or a buffer. Okay, I don't know if I'm explaining it.
No, I understand. I mean,
How effective do you think they are, and have you seen them used in other towns?
Yes, I did not know the towns, but I've seen demos. Actually, that is, yes, I did. I've seen demos. I've seen multiple demonstrated at different functions I've been at. Well, yes, I have. I've seen, we would have to decide. And then we would determine which is
you know what the life shelf on something like that would be? How long? Do you know how long they would last for? How long, the shelf life? How long does something like that last? 5 years, 10 years? Did you see it? You said you saw a demo on it. Do you remember seeing anything, how long it would last, or?
Pete, you said 20? You said 20 years? I didn't hear. I thought you said 20 years.
They'll last at least 20 years? But it's a long time that you'd say for this kind of money. It would last, a couple of storms if you had to use it, a couple of years, right? This wouldn't be a repeat every year we need to do this. This would be, or at least, 5, 7, 8, 10 years.
Your question is, are we going to have to buy one every couple of years, or
Yep.
is it going to last us every couple of years?
Well, both. How about that? How about that question? Both. Do we have to buy more every couple of years, or is it going to last?
We would not have to buy it as long as we get the ones that encompasses these. You have enough money to be able to do the whole perimeter of the building, then we wouldn't have to buy it. If we only have enough money to be part of the building, then I would be back here next year saying you need to fund the bond, you do the rest of the building.
I understand. I understand. Because I know when the water comes up from the Saddle River, and I believe if I'm correct, you did get water in the bays from the front door and a couple of the floods. Am I correct there? Right?
In 1999, we got it in 2011, we also got it in 2021.
But the front.
We got it before I ended that. And
Right.
the side.
Right.
It actually came around the.
So unless you take it and go across the parking lot and across toward the post office to block that off, it would still come up the hill a little bit to the base. Is that what I'm understanding?
That's why the problem is front door.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I remember. It was swampy area. Yeah, I remember the pilings, I remember the whole thing, because I remember the ambulance corps being built, because I was on the ambulance corps at that time. So I remember that, the whole project. But, sorry? Yeah. Well, it started in like late 89, 90, I went into that project. But I understand what you're saying. I just wanted to know, because the flooding does come up that way. So when I said, how do you move the trucks? Or how do you put this barrier there, how are you going to pull the trucks out? But you're saying because you're surrounding it from the back and the side.
Yes.
Okay.
We're not blocking the main flood entrance, we're actually blocking the water going up the driveway.
I understand. No, I understand. I mean, I'm picturing the firehouse right now. I understand what you're saying.
Like the walk through, you have to meet you.
I'm good. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, thank you.
All right, the next item would be pedestrian crossing signs, security cameras, and stop signs, the flashing stop signs. That would be $70,000. That would be throughout the township.
Correct.
Next item is $40,000. That is basically for computer equipment for various departments, offices, and agencies. And that'd be throughout, again, the township where we need computers. The next item is the sound system for the court, and that's $43,000. The next item is the pump station. So this pump station right now would be $115,000. And this is in supplement to the $260,000 we did a few years ago for the design of this huge project in the millions that we're hoping to get a grant for at the end of this year. That's the big cost. Hopefully, we'll save money there. That's everything. So all of this equipment, any questions, please. It was vetted with the administrator first, and you did hear there were a lot of cuts before it got to you here, specifically with the OEM itself. And then the signs, we cut that, we cut the computers. So it could have been more money, and obviously no one wants to spend this money. But again, it's your decision, what you want to do with it, but it was vetted, quite extensively before it got here.
And just to make it clear, because again, the comment was made, the police department is getting LED signage, a small amount of computer upgrades, and security camera upgrades that will basically be for our parks. There's nothing else added here, so the statement that because I'm the chief, I'm adding things for the police department, as evidenced here, is just completely a misstatement.
So the computers are being replaced because they're older?
They're aged, yeah.
They're faded out?
I could go into a long...
See them, you'll-
I mean, I
Yeah.
saw some.
Yep.
Yeah, and I can tell you, unfortunately, or however you want to look at it, fortunately, the Joint Insurance Fund, in protecting their well-being, has pretty much told us if we don't make some of these upgrades, you're looking at a premium, of about $110,000 increase in our premiums, because they just can't, we have to be able to certify that we're secure. So we did a whole bunch last year to the server itself, and these are the continuation of replacing not just aged computers, but ones that kind of open us up to, some security risk.
So how much can we save with the flood mitigation through the insurance? Do we have any idea, any kind of flood savings with preventative things like the barriers?
So that all would probably go towards the our rating, our CRS rating, right?
Yeah.
So what we do helps actually protect the residents who have to purchase flood insurance.
The FEMA, yes.
Right, and we have to meet certain criteria, and we've actually done that. Matter of fact, we'll be sending out a mailer with our tax bill. That's a requirement as well. So to meet some of those requirements. But yeah, by doing these things, it helps our citizens, when they purchase their flood insurance, get it at a lower rate.
Right, we're up to a 15% reduction.
I was there.
Yeah, it was 5%, 10%, and with all the work that they've done, it's up to 15% now.
It is, and we're close to another notch up on that, we got a 20% reduction. Okay, we'll know better in September or October, I think, what it's due. But we have to put some of these things in place, made up, I can't speak for stuff. Okay, there's other things that happen in order to get that. Right now,
I don't want to say we enjoy, but our residents benefit by 15% reduction in our CRS community rating system because of some of the things we did on that program. But there's other upgrades, things we need to do, we're certainly looking at that, trying to that 10%. Now, some of these may help us.
Right, with the, no, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please.
With all these numbers, you know about, with all the grants that we have out there, guesstimate, and I'm not asking for perfect numbers right now, how much this could be offset by?
$300,000, maybe more. We don't know what the grants would come in. The perfect example is, you approved this year, was 24-1197, Carlock Field.
Right.
Well, you did $460,000 you appropriated, but the grant was $341,000. You gave out roughly, and believe me, it's a lot of money, but it's $100,000, not $460,000 in debt. So we're constantly looking. DCA is constantly issuing grants. Your fire department, whoever it is, don't know, but they're getting those grants because I'm the CFO and I get the paperwork. So there's grants out there, and anytime we see them, we apply.
Didn't we just get a grant?
You got
That
two. You got the recreation,
Right.
And the American
and you
Rescue
got the
Plan,
fire,
the ARP for the fire department.
fire grant.
So that'll, about 130,000, that'll come out off of this.
That's another.
And that was just offered literally 30 days ago on the DCA stage, which is the software program.
Right. But I mean, the biggest cost here is the roof.
We also got the flood grant,
We did.
$100,000.
Yep.
That can offset, there's 115,000, because that's for the, specifically given to us by Assemblywoman and, Lisa Swain and Senator Lagana through the state for the flood mitigation of our pump station.
So who is on the community development up here right now that serves on the community development?
I think the mayor, right?
Mayor? So with community development, they will in September have what's called unprogrammed funds. These are funds that other towns got a grant and they didn't need all that money. So the county will allow us to reapply in September, October for additional monies, and we do it every year. So I don't want to get pinned down, but I think we can reduce even more with more grants as they come out.
Roy, last year, how much was bonded?
About 800,000 off of this number.
The total amount last year?
Approximately.
For the capital bond, not, because there
It
was
was about-
several. Yeah, the roads.
The roads was the big one last year. I can give you the list. I don't have it with me. I wasn't prepared for that. I was prepared for this.
I never.
But I will have it for you.
No, I mean, I appreciate it, but I
You'll
mean,
get it.
this
The total bonds outstanding as of
yes, please tell me that.
December
Because
31st.
that was stated as, this
So
would
it's
bring it
not
up
18,
to.
it was 11,600,000.
Okay.
Let me bring it up. Just give me 1 second, please. So this is filed with the state of New Jersey. This document is reviewed by the auditor as well. So these are the numbers that can be quoted. So your outstanding net debt as of 12/31/23 was 11,075,139. That was the borough's portion of the net debt. Township.
Okay.
That's the fact, that's what's filed with the division. And of course, we just added some debt onto that number. But you also just, in the month of July and November, we're going to pay off some of these bonds in the tune of $1.1 million. It's in the budget. You've been very aggressive previous and present paying debt. No one likes debt. I'm your CFO. Last thing I want to do is issue debt because, we want to keep the numbers down as much as we can. My years here, I have not seen wasted money on any bonds. It's usually for the township residents. We just did a new program for the police department because that seems to come up here for the cars. The cars now are being leased. We're not bonding those vehicles anymore. We're paying them literally year to year at a great rate. So there's constant looking for savings.
And you speak of rates, just moving our money from one bank to another.
We're at 5% now, we didn't even have to go for a CD.
I was gonna ask you that, did you move it over? Which,
But anyway, the facts are what they are. You need 2/3 vote on this. It's introduction. There was many hours put in on this. It's your decision as Township Committee, not me. I present under the law what you can and can't do, but you make final decisions if you want to spend it on these items. Unless you see something here that the administrator or I vetted, tell us what you think isn't necessary.
well, I think the roof is definitely necessary. We can't
It's
wait
800,000.
any longer. Am I understanding that, Dean, that's,
It's been out of warranty for 2
I
years
mean,
now.
look at this ceiling thing.
Yeah, I look around the building department, look around
Look at the
police
Look
department.
at the police
The worst is
department.
in the police department.
Lose
That was,
equipment, we lose
it
everything.
was
Well, that's
raining
what I'm
in there.
saying,
Yeah.
because that's why I asked about the computers. Did you lose
Nothing
anything from the
wasted.
water there?
We've gotten into the habit of, we have the bucket brigade knows ahead of storms to lay out PVC plastic
Yeah.
So if we approve
and
this,
tarps.
this can be looked into right away for bidding and everything else, right?
Actually, the one quote we have is under a county co-op, but I'll discuss that with the CFO. Once the funds are available, you're looking, what, how many days after his second reading?
So the procedure is, the law is under 48-2.
Right.
You're going to introduce this evening, hopefully 2/3 vote. You will then advertise in the newspaper,
On the 8th, it's got to be in the paper by the.
and then you will have your hearing
June
and
26th.
second reading next month,
June 26th,
June 26th,
and then it becomes effective
and then it becomes
July.
effective 20 days after the date that you adopt this
July what?
bond ordinance. You
So-
cannot spend money till 20 days after. It's called the estoppel period. And it's just a period of time for everyone to absorb what's going to happen with this bond.
Specifically with the roof, so this committee recalls, we're still waiting on public service, that program to replace several of the HVAC units on the roof, which I would rather see done first, so the new roof can be done properly. So it's going to be around September, October. Maybe, if we're lucky, August for the HVAC units, but then by the time that work's done, we'll be looking at September, October for the roof.
But I mean, you're saying to me that this roof is such disrepair.
It is.
I mean,
That's correct.
this has been, that's why I said to you, when was the last time this was on an ordinance, a bond ordinance?
It wasn't,
You don't remember it ever being?
no. No, we did repairs.
Well, that's
Extensive
what Ms.
repairs.
Sartola said, the patchwork that was done, but
Yeah, and it
obviously
did,
that,
it helped.
that didn't work.
It didn't work, but at least we got a couple more years till we got.
It
to
was
this
the Band-Aid, it helped, but we knew it wasn't going to be long-term. It helped temporarily.
Well, yeah, but it comes to
The
a
new
point
building,
now.
but never.
Sure, and we knew that was coming.
Decide,
Yeah, we
Yep.
knew that was coming.
right,
Yeah.
it's not gonna work anymore, so,
Right.
okay, thank you. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Thank
Mark.
you.
Thanks again, Roy, appreciate it.
Good to move on. Like, ordinance. All right, so move on to ordinance introduction. The mayor asks for a motion to introduce by title the first reading ordinance number 1208-24 by way of resolution number 024-134, bond ordinance authorizing the making of various public improvements and acquisitions of new additions or replacement equipment and machinery, new communication and signal systems equipment, and new information technology equipment in, by, and for Township of Rochelle Park in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $2,043,000 to pay to the cost thereof, to make a down payment to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriations, and to provide the issuance of bond anticipation and notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds, and it be published in full in the Bergen Record with notice of public hearing to be held on June 26, 2024. Like to ask for a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Anybody like to second? And I'll second it.
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Cordella?
Yes,
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Vassetti.
Yes. Next one, right? Mayor asks for a motion to introduce by title the first reading ordinance number 1209-24 by the way of resolution number 24-135, an ordinance to amend chapter 75 of the Code of the Township of Rochelle Park entitled Certificates of Occupancy and to be published in full in the Bergen Record with notice of the public hearing to be held on June 26, 2024. Ask for a motion.
Motion.
I'll second.
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Vassetti.
Yes. Resolution 24-136, Mayor asks for a motion to introduce by title the first reading ordinance number 1210-24, an ordinance to provide for and determine the maximum annual salaries of various employees of the Township of Rochelle Park by way of resolution number 24-136, and to be published in full in the Bergen Record with notice of public hearing to be held on June 26, 2024. Ask for a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Committeewoman Otola?
Yes.
Committeewoman Judge Covello?
Yes.
Committeeman Miller?
Yes.
Mayor Vassetti.
Yes. Ordinance for adoption. Yep, ordinance for adoption. Mayor asks for a motion to open the public hearing of ordinance number 1205-24, an ordinance to amend chapter 150 of the Code of the Township of Rochelle Park entitled Property Maintenance to add subsection 150-7, lead-based paint inspection. Get a motion to open it up?
Motion open.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This time we're open. Anybody have questions? Step forward. See nobody? Motion to close?
Motion to close.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Mayor asks for a motion to close, I did that right. Mayor Vassetti asks for a motion to open the Public Hearing Act, ordinance number 1206-24, an ordinance to amend chapter 28 of the Code of the Township of Rochelle Park, and specifically to amend section 28-1 entitled Composition of Department, Temporary Employees Compensation. Ask for a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Open to the public. Nobody stepping forward.
Motion to open to the public.
That was the
Yeah,
motion.
That was the motion to open.
That was the motion, so it's open now.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you say that, sorry.
Yes, that's okay. That's confusing. Seeing none,
Seeing none. Motion to close.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor asks for a motion to open. Which one are we on there?
We're on
1207-24.
1207-24.
Oh, there, that's what I got. A motion to open the public hearing of ordinance number 1207-24, an ordinance to amend chapter 185 of the Code of the Township of Rochelle Park, Land Use and Development Regulations, specifically to amend subsection 185-145, scope and purpose. Can I get a motion open?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody from the public like to step forward? Nobody stepping forward? A motion to close?
I'm sorry, you got it?
Sure, I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All items listed below are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the Township Committee and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items